Hello, Teddy. How are you? Thank you for joining me on Sunday.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Thanks for the invite. Yeah, I was listening to some of the other episodes that you're doing. I think you do really well, like leading these conversations. So I was excited. And plus, we've known each other for a minute. So yeah.
okay, yeah, we are live. Very exciting. Yes, so this is my weekly show called Engineer Her Path for women in STEM, but talk about a multitude of topics. I've been having a lot of other fellow financial coaches on here because, that's what I also do. I'm a financial coach. And this is Teddy Nguyen. I picked him because he's someone that he's in my network of Ramsey financial coaches. We've met several times. He lives local to me. I've been very, very impressed with him. Just found he's so mature, so well spoken. Like so impressed with him. And also, nobody will believe this. You're still in your 20s. And you're trying to, become a financial coach. Well, I mean, you are one. In addition to having a day job as a social worker, which I think is really interesting to like find your purpose and path, so early on and juggle those two like different but kind of similar. And you're going to get into it how a lot of that translates over into the financial coaching, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the introduction.
Yeah. And I'll just let you introduce yourself to everyone here.
Yeah. So yeah, my name is Teddy. I'm a money coach, and I started coaching about 2 years ago. And a lot of the way I like to approach money is the behavioral aspect and just like the human aspect behind money, because it's not just dollars and cents. There's a lot of emotions
Mm.
and spending psychology and all that stuff tied into like why we behave the way we do about money. Now, obviously, that comes from my history with social work, but also personal life stuff. I was a huge nerd when it came to money, a huge saver, and I just thought I knew everything. Like, I'm a nerd, I'm a saver, I'm just like the best with money. But no, I quickly realized that having a nice balance of spending and saving and doing it in a way where you can still add value to your life, like that was the piece I was missing. And I didn't really understand that until really going through like the addictive recovery process
Mm.
and applying a lot of that into just how we treat money. So, a little bit about my background. Yeah.
Yeah. And you talked a little bit about it, but how did you get into this journey of, mastering your finances and financial peace and all that?
Yeah. So, growing up, my parents were fighting a lot. I don't know if it was about money, I don't know what it was about, but they were just fighting. And after they got divorced, whenever I was here with my dad, he's an accountant, very much like numbers oriented. That's all he would talk about. Here's how to get the best deal. You don't need to live, compare yourself to other people and keep up with the Joneses, right? And so we lived a very, I don't want to say impoverished, but frugal lifestyle. Um, Yeah, the way we were living was like you would think that we were below the poverty line. Like we're getting free lunches, we're living in this two-bedroom apartment, and I mean absolutely got valuable money skills. Don't get me wrong. But at that point I'm just like really numbers oriented. Like, okay, let's get a good
Yeah.
deal and save as much as I can to set myself up for retirement, retiring early. Thinking like, okay, I'll retire when I'm 30. Life's gonna be great, and yeah, that's where like the passion for money stuff came from. And I was very, driven when it came to school and goals and things like that. And I was on track to pursue a field in like a career in nursing. But after some like personal stuff going on, I made a switch into mental health field, and that is that process of addiction recovery, going to groups, going to counseling, and understanding that there's more to life than just knowledge, like knowing a lot of stuff and being good at things. But there's like a deeper level of connection that I was missing with not just myself, but with everything around me, money, people, things like that. And so that started my transition into social work and doing that kind of work with people going through the same things I've gone through or similar things. And I was in the field of social work for about a year and a half, almost 2 years, when I came across this thing called financial coaching. Like, what is this? And really quickly learned that it is a really great blend of human behavior and personal finance knowledge. So at the time, pretty much parallel with my journey into the social work field, I was, paying off car debt or learning stuff about home buying, home selling, and doing all these like adulting things with money. And throughout that process, I mean, y'all see it over here. We got the goat himself, Dave Ramsey. And yeah, just drank the Kool Aid, listened to all things personal finance. And from there, just finding how to blend these two worlds together. That's, you know, that's how I got here. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, you brought up a great point because when I first started doing all this stuff and diving into personal finance, of course, I love all the numbers. And as an engineer, that's what I kind of thought it was about, the math and the numbers. But the behavioral part is so much more important. And it's, like you're talking about, people know what to do sometimes, but how do you get them to do it, right? And that's what you've probably learned a lot from your degree and actually working in the field of social work.
Yeah, exactly. And like the thing I see all the time is like, how do we motivate someone for change? Right?
Right.
Because motivation is like very internal. Like you can hear all
Yes.
this stuff, but it's when you connect it to someone or something that really impacts that person. Like that could be a challenge. Like, how do you do that? How do we even do it for ourselves? Right? And
Oh, I know.
like there is no shortage of information at all between the internet, AI, just people, right? You go down Reddit threads, go down YouTube videos and all this stuff. You'll find like almost every answer to any question you have. But there's always something, there's some barrier between like we know what to do, but why aren't we doing it? And that falls for both sides
Yes.
of the spectrum. People who are really great with money but feel like no fulfillment in their job, or people who just hate the thought of money, and just spend everything.
Oh, but going back to how you grew up, because I think I felt like, I don't know if my parents were that frugal, but a similar feeling where it just felt like we're really poor and we had to always ask how much everything cost and we're so conscious of it. And isn't it kind of funny looking back? And if that's your world and your perception, but I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on why your family or parents were like that?
So I did give a good amount of thought to this. I think part of it is also from a immigrant American background where
Yeah.
like both my parents left Vietnam during the war, right? And like the economy, the lifestyle over there, it wasn't as luxurious as what we have here in America, right? And so this idea of scarcity actually is pretty prevalent with a lot of immigrants, whereas like we are given this amazing opportunity, let's not mess it up. So we need to be scarce with our resource, save as much as we can, and absolutely valuable when you're like in that transition. And then at the same time though, like in any spectrum, like those far ends will also cause some issues. So like for me, especially with my dad, my mom and my dad were like opposite. My mom was like, we don't talk about money, we just spend, we'll figure it out, whatever. And my dad is like, we'll save every penny we have. We have to plan 30 years out in advance. Completely different mindsets, right? Yeah, like with my dad, I mean, we're three of us living with him in a 2-bedroom apartment. It was like $650 for rent. That you don't even find that anywhere, right? And we're driving cars that cost like $900 and skipping oil changes to save money. And when we go to a buffet, we're like eating the most expensive stuff and skipping the bread and the rice and all this stuff, right? All these different things, but it all stem from this scarcity mentality. Um, so yeah,
It really does have an impact on you, right?
yeah, it does. And that was one of the biggest things I had to unlearn uh, going into my relationship and learning that not everyone needs to think this way. There's a balance.
Yeah. And it's funny, sometimes I see some of that rub off on my son. So it's kind of funny when you see your kids, oh, when your daughter gets older, and she'll be like, "Well, how much did that cost, Daddy?" Or should we, or is there a coupon for that? And it's just sometimes like, "Oh, well, I wonder where they got that from."
Yeah, I mean, we do a little bit of it now. Like, um, my daughter wants to just buy all the toys, right? And we're very much yes people, my wife and I. And so it can be hard. We'll start overspending very quickly. And sometimes I joke with her, I'm like, do you have money for it? She's like, I forgot my wallet. And she's 3, y'all. She's like a little, little human. And, but she's starting to understand these concepts of like, if I want something, like I have to have the money or whatever in her mind. I don't know if she fully understands the concept of money, but enough to know that like things don't just come out of nowhere. Like we don't just buy things because we can.
Mhm.
Like there is some limit on the resources, and understanding that I think is really cool to see, especially with kids that young. So
Yeah, yeah, they really do observe what you say and do. But yeah, shifting a little bit to talking about overspending insights. What kind of insights have you seen with people with their overspending, and maybe even related to the addiction recovery things that you've worked on?
yeah, so when I came out with the course Overspending Insight, it was really focused on this idea of where do these spending behaviors come from. And when I was really picking apart the addiction recovery process, like addictions, whatever it is, gambling, drugs, alcohol, porn, spending, eating, they're just symptoms of underlying problems. And so it's just we can identify those because they're very surface level and we see the destruction that it causes. And so for spending, it's very tangible. You can see, oh my goodness, I only have $500 in my account, or my debt keeps growing each month. You can see it. And so the whole idea of this overspending insight process is to uncover what are driving those spending behaviors. Like every behavior that we make is driven by an emotion, right?
Yeah,
Positive, negative, productive, unproductive. But like those emotions don't just come out of nowhere. Like they stem from maybe a triggering event or a belief that you have,
yeah,
and kind of tracing back the steps to understand what and why do I have this, process of or chain of events essentially that's happening. And when you understand that process, you can see, oh, I'm recognizing I'm feeling a little scared right now. And that's why I'm turning to food. That's why I'm turning to spending, or I'm getting stressed. And so I want to avoid it. And so the biggest thing I've seen with it is just typically related to stress or some kind of overwhelm, where
Mhm.
call it work or even financial stress or anything like that. And just feeling like I want to shut off my brain a little bit and not worry about this, just mindlessly
Yeah,
spend, buy the thing that's on sale or whatnot. For me, it was always like buying food out. So if I had a hard day at work and I'm like, I deserve this. I brought my
yes,
lunch, but I'm gonna go buy Chipotle, you know, or just things like that. In the moment, I'm just like, I deserve this little treat, and that's kind of also the mentality that a lot of people have. And now there's a wide, range of reasons that people buy things. A lot of it's fear driven, a lot of it is
mm,
avoidance driven as well, of just I don't want to see the problem, I don't want to think about it, I don't want to feel it, I just want to live. And yeah, it definitely depends on the field you work in, your family dynamics, your own history with money, and all of that.
wow, yeah. But I can totally relate to feeling like I need to buy something because I deserve it, or I've had a hard day or a tough week, so I should go treat myself to. Yeah, and you're right. Sometimes it's not always like a thing. It might just be like eating out when I already have food at home, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Interesting, interesting. All the triggers you can think of, and it's not even just items all the time. It could be like overspending on experiences. I don't know, going to the bar, right? Too many drinks. I think people always think it's like just shopping, but it can be different things for people, right?
yeah. And I actually have a story that I think a lot of people will resonate with, especially to all my people pleasers out there. I hear you. I know you. I am you. So I was working with a client once, and we were going through her budget, and she was like, "Teddy, I'm sorry." Like, what do you mean? What do you mean you're sorry? I'm taking a look at this budget, like $2,000 or 2,500, somewhere like that, spent on eating out. Like, how did you spend this money? It's like I was buying my friend's drink and the friend's food and all this stuff. I wanted to treat everyone, and just like also the like obligation spending, and especially with the Christmas season coming up too. So many of us want to buy gifts for everyone, right? And this idea of people pleasing comes from I get validation from being appreciated or being accepted by other people, and so sometimes we put ourselves second, and it comes at a cost, financial costs, emotional costs, and things like that, where yeah, if we're not mindful of those patterns in our own life, very quickly we'll start giving money thinking it's solely out of generosity, but it's also to fill this kind of emptiness. And I say that confidently
Yeah.
because that was me, is me in a lot of ways.
Oh
So
no, that is a really good insight. I didn't even think of that. But it's sometimes like maybe you feel guilty about maybe not spending enough time with someone, or you're kind of maybe buying a bit of someone's love, right? Or you want to be that generous person. That's very, very interesting. I didn't even think of that.
yeah, and I think that's just so cool to see, even as people are understanding these patterns. And very similarly, I had someone else. I ran a live class of the Overspending Insight course, and one of the members was like, "I realize I'm trying to give everything my kid, like everything to my kids that I didn't get as a kid," and very much like I felt like money was held over my head, so I don't ever want my kids to feel like that. And then as a result, she ends up spending more on her kids out of a good place in her heart, absolutely.
Mhm.
But I think a lot of people probably resonate with that. You know,
Oh, that is a good one too. Yeah. To overcompensate for the things you feel like you missed out on, or the sports your parents didn't, put you in, or the lessons. Oh, that's really good. I never even thought of that. Yeah.
yeah. And an interesting story. I don't mean to like hog the
No, no.
conversation, but what was really interesting that I discovered between my wife and I was that our backgrounds with money were pretty similar. So both come from immigrant households and frugal households. Like they knew how to save money, but also operated from like with the scarcity mindset. I think it's interesting how a scarcity of money looks like saving everything, but almost like a scarcity of time is spending. So like a kind of you only live once mentality. And
Oh,
so like being restrictive with our money with her family is because they didn't make that much. And so they had to. With my family, we made a good amount and we were almost forced to. And there's like a whole backstory to that, but that's for another podcast. Um, but yeah, like we both grew up very money conscious, but the way we kind of grew into adulthood, she swung on the one side of let me enjoy every moment I have, spend the money however
yeah.
I want and need to. I'm very much like, let's save everything we have, almost like let's not have fun or let's not get the nicest things, and you know, cause a lot of issues. And then we clash in the middle until we find a really nice balance. And it's really interesting how that stuff plays out and how when you're comparing these totally different worlds. And
Yeah.
um, yeah, that was just a little interesting story on the
No, that is very
scarcity and
cool.
how it grows for
Yeah, and how
different
do
people.
you balance that, the saving and spending now, and planning for your future?
Yeah. A lot of what I have to do now is be my tendency is save money, cheap out, buy the lowest quality thing just to save a buck. And the biggest thing I had to unlearn was like there is value in spending money. Like you're not
Yes.
just spending on something more just because it's expensive, but there's actual tangible value with it. So, for example, like my wife and I, we get like the cheapest insurance, health insurance wise. Like let's just, you
Hmm.
know, get the bare minimum, whatever. And it comes with a lot of headaches. If anyone out there has to deal with the American healthcare system, it sucks. I'm like, I got my insurance. Now I got to set my PCP and go to my PCP to go through my specialist. And even when I go to my PCP, I got to wait 30 minutes in the lobby, fill up all this chaos, right? I'm like, this is a lot of work to save some money. And the real eye opener was like, we took our daughter to a concierge like provider where they don't work with insurance, it's just all cash. It was
Oh,
the easiest experience. We call them, we set the appointment, we show up at the time of the appointment, and they see us at the time of the appointment. I'm like, this is wild. And on top of it, like they didn't just spend 5 minutes with us. Like, your typical doctor's visit,
yes.
they sit you in the room for like 5-10 minutes. The medical assistant comes in, does a questionnaire, and leaves. And you have no idea where the doctor is. And then they come in, talk to you for 5-10 minutes, write their notes, and they're on. They just go off their way. You go, pay your thing, and out. Like the only person we saw was a provider for a good 20 or 30 minutes asking all the questions. And that's what I think is so profound about there is value in spending money. Like when you know how and where to spend the money, I think that's where the missing piece is for a lot of people who make good money, right? People,
Right.
a lot of your audience being in engineering make a good amount of money, depending on, of course, cost of living and stuff. But if you're feeling like you're making good money and you're not fulfilled, or you're just feeling like something's missing, a lot of times is like just prioritizing where that money's going, right? Yeah,
Yes.
you could sock away 2,000 more dollars in investments, but how much more joy would you get out of life if you just put 1,000 in there and put 1,000 for traveling or for upgrading um, your seat on a plane or like
Yeah.
the little things?
Yeah. No, that was a really good example because I used to be like that too a little bit. You have to shift from that kind of that dollar store, Walmart kind of mindset where like you're
Exactly.
just trying to get the cheapest for everything. And then sometimes you realize like, oh, and there was one time I had dental insurance. It was by zip code and you had to call and it took like 6 months to get like a regular checkup appointment. And there's only certain dentists within your zip code. And I was realizing, oh, this is why this dental plan's so cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I think this concept applies everywhere from groceries to gas to whatever. Like, you will not catch me buying pistachios with a shell on them anymore. I will get the shelled ones just to
I
save me
love
the
that.
time
I
and
love how you
energy.
said that.
Yeah. And yeah, food is a big one for me. Uh like the Costco or Sam's Club rotisserie chicken. I think it ends up I actually did the math on it. I peeled all the meat off and calculated how much it costs per pound of meat. And it was
Yeah,
like $1.67, like for cooked chicken, right?
that's
And I don't
good.
have to cook it. I don't have to do the raw chicken, wash my hands all the time.
Yeah,
And different things like that where you're like weighing the cost and the benefit, and the benefit's not always tangible, right? I'm like
right.
measurable. Like it could be emotional, it could
Yeah.
be stress related or whatever.
I
So
mean, yeah, because to make a rotisserie chicken, you need to buy an oven big enough to rotate that chicken around to do it rotisserie style. And in addition to, I roasted an entire chicken. It takes at least an hour at the very least. But yeah, it's nice the little conveniences and value doesn't always mean it's the cheapest. And yeah, I think you learn that a little more as you're getting older, right? And kind of navigating through life. That's interesting.
yeah, yeah. One of the biggest ones is cars. Like buying cheap cars, y'all. I made almost like probably about $10,000 in car buying mistakes. Um, Yeah, one of which I was like, oh, I found this really great deal on this RAV4. Yeah, it's not pretty. Yeah, it's not as quiet as I think it would be. But I was just so excited by the deal. Like, oh, I got this car for $6,000, $7,000. But out of that excitement, out of this drive for saving money, I missed a lot of stuff. And once we brought it home, my father-in-law took a look at it and was like, did you look under the car? Like, I don't know
Oh
why I would
man.
need to look under the car. And they pulled out this towel soaked in oil. Like, they just stuffed it in there. I'm like, oh, I
Oh,
took the risk of buying this as is by myself, try to save money so that like I could have paid a mechanic to check it out, but I didn't. And so that mistake cost me about 3,500. Yeah, because the car was
Wow.
only worth about $3,000 for in its state.
But you probably got excited about the price and you're like, I got to go get it before anyone else buys it, right?
Exactly. I haggled them down from like $8,000 to 6,500, thinking I got the deal. I did not get the deal. In fact, he ghosted me, and so he has the money. So, lesson learned, y'all. Get the
Oh,
mechanic to check out the car. Uh, yeah.
wow. Wow. That is an interesting story. So, how do you work with your clients? I know you have some one on one, and then what else do you do?
Yeah, so kind of the model I approach coaching is it's very similar to counseling, very open, conversational. I actually don't touch a lot of the technical stuff too much. I will do it for myself, like my own personal finance, but when it really comes to digging deep into like let's really understand what's going on and understand that motivation for change for the client, I think that's kind of my realm of familiarity and expertise, especially coming from a world that's very yeah, counseling heavy or mental health focus in terms of communicating and all this stuff. And so I do a mix. I just wrapped up some of my classes that I run, whether it's Financial Peace University or through the Overspending Insight course. Um, I there was a period of time I did group coaching. I think whenever the time is right, I'll probably start that up again. But primarily right now, it's one-to-one coaching, and very similar to like what you would expect from a personal trainer, a life coach, counselor, um, that type of dynamic of let's understand and challenge you to think outside what you think is comfortable, right? Oh, you don't think you can pay off the debt in 12 months? Well, let's show you how you do it in 8 or different things like that. Oh, you don't think you can stand up to a debt collector? Let's role play it. Like I'll be the debt collector and let's talk through and you hold your grounds and say, no, I'm not going to pay that. Here's what I can do. Different things like that. Very focus on like the soft skills of money.
Okay. And then, I mean, you have your Facebook community, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I actually was recently doing it. It was today I was doing a rebranding of the Facebook group to really focus on this idea of a spending detox that we can spend a lot of our money and not really know where it's going. And part of the detox process is understanding where our money is going and then how to do it in a way that adds value. And so that's the whole purpose of that group. So when we're learning how to spend money, we can know where to save and prepare ourselves for the future, pay off debt. And yeah, that's all in the Facebook group.
Okay. And then, yeah, you can drop a link in there later. And where can people find you? And do you have anything that you offer?
Yeah, so I exist in quite a few places. On LinkedIn here, I have a YouTube channel as well where I post a lot of my video content. And um, those are my primary ones. I would say the Facebook group, YouTube, and LinkedIn. I'm actually not super active on. I'm trying to get better. I am. I have Instagram as
You're
well. It's
missing
at
out.
yeah. So on pretty much any social media platform, it's going to be at Money Coach Teddy. So just how it sounds. I think all except LinkedIn. I think it's still my old handle, but I'm sure I'll be tagged in this video so y'all wouldn't have trouble finding it. But yeah, in terms of any freebies, if you go to my website, lionlambmoney.com, and there's a landing page, it'll just give you a little intro video to what the Overspending Insight course is. But if you want to skip that video and just go straight with the URL, it's lionlambmoney.com/overspending insight. It's a free course. The only opt-in is your email, and that's just so you can create an account to track your progress. And it comes with the workbook, it comes with the video, and yeah, the whole goal is that you can go on the self-discovery journey on your own. It's great if you do it in a class. I just don't have any classes open right now, but it's a dense course, so it may
Yeah,
take you a little time, and it's good to take your time with
yeah,
it.
I've been through some of it. It's really good. So it's all free, and that's one of his really great offers out there. But thank you so much for being on my show. And we're at the end, and I really enjoyed talking with you. And it's been so nice knowing you in real life and all that. And looking forward to seeing everything you do in the future. Thank you.
I appreciate that. And yeah, thanks for the invite. And like all of you don't know this because I didn't bring it up, but Sandra was like one of the key people that actually got me started in coaching. And so I was like wandering aimlessly for the longest time. And I think it was probably like, I think October or November or something of last year. And just like she really took me under her wing to understand this world of like financial coaches because I didn't know what I was doing. And so a lot of that, yeah, I attribute to Sandra's just generosity. And I love what you're doing with the podcast too, right? And finding new ways to reach audience and impact them. And so it's a privilege to be here and absolutely grateful for this opportunity and, of course, your friendship.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for saying all that. And yeah, you're the best at being on video. So yeah, go check out his YouTube videos. They're very good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.